Penelope Cruz got the gun. And she's like, don't you never disrespect me like this again, all right? That was a warning shot. I was like, oh my God, you know? So,
specific similarity between these characters. Enzo Ferrari, he's like, yo, I care about winning, and that's it.
One of the big themes of both of these films is obsession.
Yes.
Our main character in Heat and our main character in Ferrari are obsessed with work. And they both know that disaster is right around the corner, and they are at peace with that. But with Ferrari, disaster hits Enzo Ferrari back to 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 back, and he has trained himself to never react. There's only one moment where he reacts to the true absolute carnage he seems to bring, and that's when he's by himself and he's crying over his dead son. But let's back up just a touch and let's talk about how Michael Mann shows us or introduces us to Enzo Ferrari. The movie starts and he looks like, you know, an average guy in a middle-class house, and he's waking up next to a woman. You assume it's his wife. He goes into the bedroom, sees his son, says, oh, tucks him in. Oh, you have a good day. You know, he puts on his tie, grabs a suitcase, you know, like any dad would, and he very quietly eases the car out of the driveway so as to not wake anybody. Shh. Only to pull into another house. And you're like, oh, was that not his house? Was that not his wife? There are two Enzo Ferraris. There is the public persona, and then there's the private persona. And privately, Enzo has been raising a completely separate family. Separate from his wife, played by Penelope Cruz, separate from his job. So this seems to be where he can be more himself. He seems to be relaxed. I was just
about to say that.
He's leaning back, reading a newspaper. He's real chill.
Man.
But then he goes home and Penelope Cruz got the gun, and she's like, yo,
where you been?
Don't you never disrespect me like this again, all right? That was a warning shot. I was like, oh my God, you know? So,
That's basically what she did, man. She was, and then he was talking to his mom. She missed. It was a warning shot.
Yeah, she was like, no one got shot. Okay, calm down. He's like, what? He don't care about selling cars. He doesn't care at all. He cares about racing. He's a former driver. That's all he cares about. That's the only reason why he keeps the whole brand going. And even people around him are like, racing doesn't make a lot of money. You should try
pay the bills, bro.
Yeah, you should try selling these things. He's got no interest. He doesn't care. He wants to race and he wants to win, and that's it. And that drive is like in his blood. And it has turned him into like a lizard man. Like he is ice cold, completely unreactive. There's a scene near the end of the film where he walks through like some absolute carnage, bodies everywhere, including the bodies of some children. He just looks around and he's like, so did my car mess up or what? Or did it hit something? Like, he doesn't seem to care. It's like, yo, okay, I get it's important, but don't you see the bodies? Don't you see the families? He doesn't care. He has closed himself off.
I immediately thought back to Gran Turismo, where the character had an accident. It wasn't really shown on film. But in this film, it was shown in such a graphic manner.
Right.
I was like, those people still have, family members that probably think about all this to this day.
Right. The camera does not cut when you think it's going to cut. It cut in between this little boy and it cut in between the car. And this little boy playing in the car. So you're like, oh, okay, I get it. They're going to kill the little boy.
That's how you know something's going to happen, right?
Right. And so when the car loses control, you kind of expect the camera to just cut, but it doesn't. I think it actually might slow down a little bit, and it shows in graphic detail a car plowing through a crowd and killing women and children, mostly children apparently. and smearing them all across the sidewalk. And it's like, oh my gosh. And in the beginning of the film, it shows one of his drivers being ejected from the car violently and being thrown across the track. And I think Michael Mann shot it this way because this is how Enzo sees it. He doesn't blink when he sees this kind of stuff. When he sees the horror and the carnage, he just accepts that this is just part of the race. And he even, at one point, he even says, like, we all know that death is right around the corner. Now, my son doesn't know that, and my wife doesn't know that, but I know that death is always right around the corner, and he seems to be completely at peace with this. But this doesn't mean everyone else around him is at peace. There are a lot of people that I assume he cares something about who get caught up in this violence and carnage that comes with racing.
I'm thinking in my mind, it's like, is this needed? Does this make the film better for me to see this type of stuff? You know, I see the control of this man and this that he's determined to run this business the way that he wants to also to run his personal life the way that he wants to by hiding stuff off the books from his wife. But I personally didn't need to see that.
Yeah, it's hard to see that.
Even though I understand why he did it.
He seems to have lost his humanity on his way to glory. He doesn't react to anything. There's all kinds of really effed up stuff going around him, and he doesn't.
Like, my God.
He does not. He's very cold and steely about it. But I guess my point is, I don't think that makes for a very interesting movie, having a main character who is completely unreactive, and which is, again, my big knock on the film. I liked this film. It's just, for a movie called Ferrari, this movie had like no momentum, dude. Like none. This movie moved at a very glacial pace and a very deliberate pace. You know, I think they did that to show how cold and uncaring, how meticulous Enzo has become. But I'm not sure if that, while that's interesting to think about, I'm not sure if that makes the viewing experience of the movie particularly exciting. So if you're coming into this film expecting something like Gran Turismo, where it's just, you know, cars just, you know, a big race thing, this is not that. As a matter of fact, when the big race happens in the film, they're like, okay, 3, 2, 1, race. He just leaves. We just know that there's a race going on in the background, but we see much less of that race than you would expect.
If you think you're going to come up in here where you're going to be like action back to back, freaking racing like freaking Fast and Furious back in the day, that's not this. This film is going to concentrate on the man itself and the psyche of the man. What drives the man? you know,
this movie should have been called Enzo Ferrari, right? Because that's really what it's about. It's not really about the cars, not really. It's more about his obsession with racing. Penelope Cruz, her character, which is Enzo's wife, is Enzo's exact opposite, right? Every time she's on the screen, I feel like the movie really lit up when there suddenly was momentum. All these feelings are very raw for her, and she is very angry, and she walks around with a literal gun in her purse, and she is not afraid to fire that thing. But I think Penelope Cruz, I mean, she's always been a fantastic actress, but I think this was truly one of her best performances. She absolutely rocked it.
Yes, for sure. She might be nominated for this. And let's talk about the women in this story. His mom has resentment towards Enzo. Like, she don't even like him because, you know, his younger brother died in the war.
Got killed in the war. Yeah, World War II.
And she is like, you should have died. I miss him.
Yeah, she was like, the wrong son died.
Enzo's wife misses like who Enzo was, you know.
Right.
Shirley Whitley's character, she's like, I wish what we have now could grow into something, you know, substantial.
All this speaks to why Enzo is the way he is. I mean, Jesus, you have a mother like that, you might grow up kind of cold, you know? It was really interesting as Michael Mann kind of vanished on the movie scene for a while. This is my conspiracy theory now. But cast your mind back to like the early 2000s. Most people, even today, think video looks cheap, right? And we talk about this all the time with Marvel, how shitty Marvel looks. It's all shot on video, right?
A digital look.
But Michael Mann was like, you know what? We could do something with this video thing. You could shoot a whole movie for next to nothing with video. So he got really obsessed with it, right? And a lot of his movies, I want to say it started with Collateral, all were shot on video, and they all had this kind of video-y, camcorder-y look type thing going on. And sometimes it worked, like with Collateral. That video look worked with Collateral, and then sometimes it did so terrible, like with, at least in my opinion, with that Jesse James movie. I don't think anybody would think, like, why would you make a video with Jesse James? Why would this work? And he would not let it go. He was like a dog with a bone, man. But now everything is video. He won the war. He was completely right that video was the future, that digital was the future. He was 100% right. But maybe not in the way that he was presenting it. He always has been fighting against this idea that he's Mr. Stylized. You know, he's got this obsession with, you know, color and stuff like that. But Heat is before a lot of that criticism came. It's one of the reasons why a lot of that criticism was born from. And it's because Heat is the coolest movie you've ever seen.
I do what I do best. I take scores. You do what you do best, trying to stop guys like me.
And I was blown away with these characters that's like, you know, Enzo Ferrari, where they just don't want to leave well enough alone. Okay.
Right. They are obsessed. And they are so meticulous. Robert De Niro's character has a whole little phrase in his head that I guess someone he worked with said, you know, don't ever get yourself invested in anything you can't drop at a dime when the heat is around the corner, which is where, you know, the title comes from, Heat. You could tell that Michael Mann has like an obsession with like American painters in this film, because a lot of the backgrounds, a lot of the poses people strike are like they look kind of like an Edward Hopper painting. And Edward Hopper's known for these very stark colors, this like sad, melancholy thing. And also he's known for like a lack of windows. And Michael Mann mimics that, especially with our main character's house. He's standing in front of this big window that's overlooking like an ocean, but you can't really see the glass. You know what I mean? So it just looks like the guy standing there overlooking this ocean. It looks crazy and surreal. This is I use this word a lot. I'm probably gonna use it again as we move forward. This is a very cool movie. Super, super, super stylized. It's got awesome pop tracks and synth tracks going on. And because of that, it is like the template for just about every heist film. It's hard to watch this and not think of Christopher Nolan. And Christopher Nolan's pretty open about it. He's pretty open about how much he borrows from Michael Mann and how much Michael Mann has inspired his career. But this movie feels a lot like The Dark Knight. It feels like GTA 5. You can see all those influences in there. I imagine if you're a younger person and you're watching this for the first time, things might look stereotypical. You're just like, well, what's special about this? I've seen this 100 times. But this is where it was all invented. They cast Robert De Niro, who at this time was like in his 50s. It gave the impression he's been doing this for a long time. And he's got a very specific way he likes to do these heists. And Wayne Grove, the guy with the mullet, the wild guy, he was a new guy to the crew.
He just shoots one of the guards just for looking at him. And then that causes a whole issue where it's like, well, we can't just leave one dead. We got to kill all three of them. That leads Al Pacino. It's like, okay, I'm seeing their style. Okay, I'm going to follow this style up and I'm going to catch him.
And so now the movie shows us this bank robber, this heist guy, and him trying to plan these heists. By the way, the movie never tells us what his plan is ever, which I think is really cool. It's like a wall between the audience and our main character. So it follows him and it follows the police detective in charge, played by Al Pacino, who puts in the most bizarre performance.
Charlene Shaharless.
Who?
Who? Are you a fucking owl?
I gotta be honest, I am not sure if I like this performance, if I love this performance, or if I hate it. It is absolutely bonkers.
Then you guys run makes on them. They got jackets. I want to see who they move and they sit with. I want it up and running by tomorrow night.
Al Pacino's performance does not fit with the film, which in a weird way makes it fit.
Give me all you got! Vincent, give me all you got! I swear, man, my brother Richard's gonna talk to you. Man. I heard Richard. He gonna talk to you. Richard? Richard? He gonna meet you, man, I swear, tonight.
He's not here, is he?
But I feel like the way Al Pacino presents it, he almost looks like a junkie, right? He looks like he's on drugs, right?
Yeah.
And so I think him chasing these guys, chasing these crews is like his drug. You know, he's like, yeah, hook me up. You know, he's like, you got a big ass. And it's like, what?
That's what he said.
This is so weird.
He said, yeah, no, you looked at her because she got a big ass.
Because she got a great ass. And you got your head all the way up it.
It's like, what? There's a scene where you could tell Al Pacino is riffing. Like, he's just kind of doing his own Al Pacino thing. And all the other characters have to react. And you can tell everybody's like, what is he doing? But it works for the scene.
By the time I get to
man,
Phoenix,
I swear, man, tonight's
he'll
the best
be
I can do for you.
rising. He'll probably leave a note right on the door.
Tonight's the best I can do for you, man.
But it kind of comes off as villainous, too, even though he is technically the good guy in the film.
Yeah, he's
he
a
almost
good
comes
guy.
off as, he seems so out of control and insane. And then at the same time, so meticulous. Is a bizarre performance, man.
What brings him down to earth is a character that I didn't even remember that was in this film when I first saw it. Natalie Portman.
Right.
You know?
Yep, she's got like 3 lines. Yep.
But those three lines and those
Where
three
are
scenes.
my barrettes? And that's it.
Daddy's gonna be here. Okay, he's gonna be. I'm not gonna be ready. I can't be late. You won't be late. No, I will be late.
But he feels for her because this is his wife's daughter, and she obviously has been neglected from her actual father. You know, she tries to take her own life.
Right.
He is so consumed with work and trying to get this done.
And that's what ties these two films together, by the way. How both our characters are totally obsessed with work. And there's just like this field of destruction all around this obsession. You know, Robert De Niro's character and Al Pacino's character in Heat, their personal lives, shambles. I mean, Robert De Niro hadn't even bought a sofa for his house. He hadn't had a millisecond to buy furniture, right? He's sitting on the floor, right? Both these people, their personal lives, garbage. Same with Enzo Ferrari, his personal life, a hellscape. All because of their obsession with work. And I think that's what makes Heat a much better film than Ferrari, in that there are emotions and there are stakes involved, right? In
Decisions.
Yep, and absolute humongous decisions that our characters have to make, and they're not the decision that the audience wants, right? Which is what makes it dramatic, right? It makes it interesting.
Yeah.
First, I forgot how sad the movie Heat is. Oh my God. As soon as it started, I was like, right, this movie is upsettingly sad. And so the movie starts with Robert De Niro being like, I've got no connections, nothing. I've been doing this forever. The police don't even know my face. That's how good I am. And a girl recognizes him and say, oh yeah, you're always in the library. And this is the meet cute where he meets someone he actually cares about. And before that, he kept turning his nose up at people who have girlfriends and wives and stuff. It's like, what's wrong with you? Don't you know
His whole
this
crew.
is liability? Yeah.
His whole crew has wives and kids and stuff.
And he lets his guard down. Also, there's another character played by, I don't even know his name anymore, but the Allstate guy. You're in good hands.
Yeah.
Where he's an ex-con, he's trying to do the right thing, and he gets pulled back in. He's taking a lot of shit from his new boss, who's this little small man, this fry cook guy. And he's like, I could beat the snot out of you, but I'm not going to. I'm going to stay controlled so I can try to live a straight and narrow life. And there's a scene where he's complaining about it to his wife, and his wife says, well, you know, I'm proud of you. And you could tell he's like, first he's like scared, he's defensive.
Because I'm proud of you.
You proud of me? What the hell you proud of me for?
And that broke my heart. You know what I mean? I was like, oh. And it's just this expression he gives. It is absolute killer. No words need to be said. It's just this like, you could tell like this like crushing of his soul. And so you are really rooting for him, but he is in the wrong business for that, my friends.
He sees Neil again in this place that this is like his hellhole that he's working in. And he's like, yeah, man, Neil, what's up, man? He's like, I got a job for you because Danny Trejo was getting tailed by the cops.
This is the introduction of Danny Trejo, by the way. His first role.
Oh, for sure. Yes. Yeah, he is awesome in this film, too.
Absolutely kills it. I'm like, I forgot he's a good actor, man. Oh, my God. He's got a famous, don't leave me like this, Holmes.
Don't leave me like this, Holmes.
Don't leave me like this. Like, whoo, that got to me, too, man.
Don't leave me like this, Neil. Please, Holmes. Don't leave me like this.
Like there are points in this film where I can feel myself getting like emotional and getting invested in the film.
It's like Michael Mann was writing this. He was like, "Oh, they're gonna go off on this.
Yeah.
They're gonna feel on this."
Got the flames coming out the pen while you're writing this down. You know what I'm saying? This movie has, I think,
Some of
the
the
best sound of any film I've ever heard. And that bank heist scene, when the guns start going off, it is just so loud. You can feel like your teeth rattle, like. Like, it is a different sound. I have never heard guns sound like that prior to this. I've never heard it after this. The sound design in this film, killer. He says it's all about the location from where they shot. So they all had real guns, by the way. They were just shooting blanks. And supposedly they shot this in downtown LA, and they were shooting these blanks, and there's all these buildings around, and the sound just echoed, and it was just like deafeningly loud. Apparently, police were being called to that set all the time because people could hear the incredible barrage of guns.
The gunfire downtown was truly horrifying sounding, and because of the skyscrapers everywhere, it was just deafening, and it would hang in the sky for maybe like 8 or 10 seconds.
We used 800 to 1,000 rounds per take.
So we were mixing in 3 stages simultaneously. And the pre-dubs of all the effects for that reel with all the gunshots came to the stage, and Michael said, "That's not the gunshot."
And everybody was in shock. He said, "How can you not, what don't you like about it?" And I knew what he didn't like about it because I was on location, was that it was horrifying sounding. So the big gun shootout that you hear in the movie is all production sound.
Nothing artificial or could come close.
He took suspenseful music out.
Yeah,
and just had that.
Now, there's no music.
Christopher Nolan, on the other hand, would have music overlaid on that, and you're like, you're taking me out of it, man. You're taking me out of it.
And Christopher Nolan's a good director. I'm not trying to rag on him, but Christopher Nolan would have a lot more cuts too. There's a very famous shot of Val Kilmer, who absolutely murders it in this game. Everybody turns into like incredible performances for this thing. Where it's this long shot where he's like ducking behind a car, he's shooting, reloading, changing, shooting. It is thrilling, man.
Actually, I heard something was very flattering, that there's a shot where I run out of bullets and I change the mag and I go back to firing. I think it's the Marines. They show the clip telling those maggots, if you can't change your clip as fast as this actor, then get out of my army.
And at this point, he's not safe. You're expecting a major character to be killed here. And also within the context of the film, it's horrific. The shooting is not cool. It is awful. It is just, you're just like, please stop, And what's also important about that is there's an hour and a half before that scene. So there's a full movie before that scene, okay? Michael Mann does something really interesting. He makes you like all the characters. He gives every character a second, right? He gives the cops all a second. He gives the robbers all a second, each individual one. And then he starts shooting at them. Like, did you like this guy? You're like, oh shit, And so you're just so now you're on pins and needles, hoping no one gets hurt. Tom Sizemore, I thought he was one of my favorite heist guys. And the movie's like, oh, do you like this guy? Well, he's currently using a child as a human shield. Do you still like him? And you're just like, right, he's a bank robber.
Right, he's
not
a
supposed to
bad guy.
like this guy. Exactly. He's the bad
gotta
guy.
take him out.
Then you got the Allstate guy. It's like, oh, did you really like his love story? Don't forget, he's a wheelman for bank robbers. And you're like, right, okay, he's a bad guy too. Did you like Robert De Niro? Well, he's got this innocent young woman in the crosshairs. Do you still like him? And it's like, right, the movie almost condemns you for liking the movie as much as you do, for liking these bank robbers as much as you do.
We know you like Val Kilmer, but he's, taking advantage of the woman he's with and putting his son in danger also. So just let you know.
And then what's interesting about that is Al Pacino, I find, because of his performance, is a bit unlikable. But during the fight, he's clearing out the crowd. He's more concerned about the crowd. He's making sure the children get out of the way. He's doing the hero things. So it's like, did you not like him for a second? You're wrong. He was actually the good guy the whole time. You're like, right. So the movie's almost like talking to you. Also, that's where the movie would end if this were any other director, right? But no, there's like another hour or hour and a half after that. It's like another movie starts up afterwards. A traditional Marvel film starts off small and gets big and ends, right?
Yeah.
But this movie starts off small, gets big, and then it bizarrely shrinks back.
This is probably my favorite cat and mouse movie I've ever seen. Michael Mann is in his pocket when he is making characters and writing characters that are so complex that you want to hate, but you also want to be okay.
Al Pacino and Robert De Niro are often confused from one another. People often say the one name, but mean the other guy, right? And they've also been in movies together. But strangely, these two actors, bizarrely, had never interacted with each other, even though they had very similar careers, and even though to the point where you would confuse the two. And so Michael Mann wisely stops the film cold to have both of our characters meet up. And the style, boy, the style. Moby redid his own song, and it is just so cool. If there was another context, they would be friends, right? These two guys align. They understand each other on a level that their wives, their girlfriends will never understand. That their best friends, their mothers, their father will never understand. And that is so cool. These guys are the exact same guy, right? Two sides of the same coin. But because of their circumstances, they are opposed to one another. Also interesting, Michael Mann loves LA. Okay, the man's obsessed with LA. Apparently a lot of these places that the movie was shot in were real. Like the little shanty towns that he went to, that was a real shanty town. The clubs he goes to, those are real clubs. He goes to real locations. I feel like this kind of obsession over LA, or obsession over place, over setting, was missing from Ferrari. Let me say one more dorky thing that we can tie it up. One of the interesting things about how Heat was shot, it was shot anamorphic. The image gets pulled into a square. It's shot into an oval, and then it's pulled into a square in post, right? Which causes the background to look really distorted. And people call this the film look, So the backgrounds of everybody are these like weird distorted blobs behind people. Like it is so bizarre back there. Like if you just like look in the background, it's dreamlike almost. Or you're like, what is going on back there? It is so cool. And also the whole movie is shot, it looks like it's shot with like a telephoto lens, like he's shooting it from across the street or something, and then zoomed in really tight, which again causes like the background to just be like so bizarre and weird, And so this like bizarre stylishness and this extreme focus on like faces, even though it's shot seemingly far away, gives the movie like almost like a dream-like feel. The Batman-Joker relationship is the same as Robert De Niro's character and Al Pacino's character. They both kind of need each other. You know what I mean?
Yes.
They both are two sides of the same guy. They both love each other and hate each other, and I love that. And at the end of the film, when Robert De Niro's character dies, they hold hands. Like it's almost essentially a death for him too. Like I love Heat. And if it's not obvious, I use the Ferrari movie as a way to just talk about Heat. I'm sorry. And these two movies have a lot more in common than I thought. This obsession with men and work. This feels like a return to form for Michael Mann, where he's moved away from this like stylized video thing, and the film looks a little bit more conventional. The style for Ferrari, it really wasn't stylistic at all. It was much more of like, if Enzo Ferrari were to make a movie, it would be like this, like very cold and meticulous.
And I really enjoyed, these films, man. But more importantly, what did you think about Ferrari? Okay, get in the comments and let us know what you thought about that. And of course, if you're a fan of Heat, let us know what you thought about Heat, because Heat is that Heat.
I don't know how to do anything else. Neither do I. I don't much want to either. Neither do I.
Thank you so much for clicking on this video. We really do appreciate you guys, man. Happy New Year. This is the first video of the new year. Thank you so much for clicking on this video. If you are new to seeing our faces, please get down there, hit that subscribe button. It's right at the bottom. It's right there for you. Rhyming. Don't do that. I'm not gonna do that. And if you did like this video, please hit that thumbs up. It really does help out the channel more than you know. Or you can hit that thumbs down. Whichever you choose, it is your opinion, but just remember one thing, it is mostly wrong. See you in another video. Peace.